Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this presentation of the preliminary results for Appreciate Group plc. This is later in the year than usual, but I'm sure everyone understands why. My name is O'Doherty, CEO of Appreciate Group, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Tim Clancy, CFO of the group. Tim is going to take us through the detailed financial results, and I will talk a bit about our progress against the group's strategic plan. We are pleased with the overall performance of the business during the year, even allowing for the impact of the pandemic. But before we do that, let me pull a few highlights from the year. We are making important progress on our strategic journey. The top half of this slide refers to a number of key initiatives that have recently come to fruition. The bottom half of the slide refers to ongoing elements of the strategy. On Friday last, we signed an agreement with Santander Bank for a revolving credit facility. This new facility provides committed funding of £15 million for a 5-year term on an unsecured basis, with an accordion option to extend the facility by a further £10 million. This completes the bank financing exercise announced in the group's trading update issued in April and is key to enabling the growth of our higher margin card and digital products. It has been a busy few days because on Monday we also closed on a £3.2 million deal to sell our property at Valley Road in Birkenhead. This has released some value and provided us with operational flexibility by leasing back only the space we now need for our operations there. Linked to that, we have also announced our intention to cease production of hampers. Whilst hampers are the historic roots of the business, they now equate to only a small percentage of our overall business. We are currently in consultation with impacted colleagues with the intention of winding down this activity by the end of the year. This will allow greater focus on our core product and drive growth. We have seen many efficiency improvements across the business, and with our move to new offices in Liverpool being a significant contributor to that. Another significant contribution will come from a new enterprise resource planning system that we are in the process of installing. Our efforts to focus on digital have seen an acceleration resulted from the COVID crisis. New digital offerings have contributed to a 10% increase in card and digital billings and a 6.5% move away from paper. And pleasingly, we are finding it easier to attract a higher caliber of talent. The quality of applicants for roles has increased and the catchment area has expanded. We have seen the number of applicants needed to be interviewed to find a suitable candidate drop by over 2/3, all of which means we are better able to acquire the right skills for our business. Like everyone else, we have been impacted by the COVID pandemic. Group was trading well up to lockdown, but then the last month of the financial year was impacted. Total billings dropped, but have started to recover. In April, billings were 64% lower than last year, but have recovered each month since then. Billings were 47% down in May, 38% down in June, and 18% down in July, making it 41% down year to date. The June, July, and year-to-date numbers are quoted without the significant impact of our deal with Iceland. Iceland are an existing redemption partner, and we've been able to help them to participate in the Department of Education free school meals national voucher scheme that is running this summer. Given that many outlets were closed and people's movement was restricted, it is no surprise that redemption rates have been down at 39% year to date compared to last year. Within that, there has been a 54% decline for physical redemptions, but a 169% increase for online redemptions. Although the Christmas Savers order book is currently 9% lower than last year, most customer plans are normally in place by March, and we have seen the normal cancellation trends since then, so this part of the business has to date been unaffected by COVID. Our response to the lockdown has been documented elsewhere and is summarized here. As lockdown restrictions eased, we have gradually reinstated physical dispatches. We have not yet reopened the FMI or Liverpool offices. When we do, it will be with a revised approach to flexible working. So what is our current status? There is still much uncertainty around our third quarter trading. This is the peak quarter of our year and impacts greatly on the year overall. Every year there is operational risk to us being able to satisfactorily fulfill customer orders, but this year that risk is increased for a number of reasons. However, we have developed plans to ensure successful delivery of the season. Add to this the unknown impact of the economic downturn, and you can see why it is difficult to predict how the new financial year will unfold. As you would expect, we have taken some financial actions. As already mentioned, we've secured a revolving credit facility of £15 million. We have also been preserving cash where possible including making revisions to employee remuneration, such as cancelling the annual pay reviews and cancelling the annual bonus plan for the year just completed. The board have reviewed forecast scenarios covering a range of possible outcomes and have carefully considered the base case scenario, current trading and the trends since the year end, and also the assessment of the reverse stress tests. The UK trading conditions continue to be uncertain at this point, and so therefore, before the outcome of our peak Q3 trading period, the board do not consider it appropriate to recommend a dividend for this financial year. It has been the board's policy to distribute just over half of post-tax profits as dividends, with 1/3 of that paid as an interim dividend and the remaining 2/3 paid as a final dividend. The board intends to return to this policy as soon as it is appropriate to do so. We expect to be in a position to provide a further update at our half-year results announcement on the 24th of November. The results being announced today reflect continued resilient performance as we implement our strategy. Billings are down slightly at 420 million, but revenues are up at 113 million. This is due to a greater mix of single retailer redemption products, which are reported gross in revenue, as opposed to multi-retailer redemption products, which are reported net in revenue. Cash at year end was 132.3 million, with 29.6 million of free cash. Profit before tax is reported at 7.7 million pounds. The adjusted PBT before exceptional items is down slightly at 11.4 million, reflecting higher gross margin offset by increased administrative costs. These increased costs are driven mainly by a 13% increase in central and property costs, some of which are related to strategy implementation and are non-recurring. The resultant adjusted earnings per share of 4.93 pence is roughly 9% down on last year. When we look at the individual segments of the business, we see that billings for the corporate segment have increased by 1.5%. This growth was due to 7.5 million of new business, continuing good retention of existing clients, and strong online billings. Corporate revenue fell by 2.4% over the prior year due to a higher mix of card and digital products, which have more deferred revenue. We are seeing increased demand, we have been able to add new clients, and we have improved the product mix. In the consumer business, customer billings have decreased by 4.3%. This was in part due to lower billings for Christmas savers, but there was a similar performance in other consumer billings derived through the highstreetvouchers.com website. Revenue has increased by 5.9%, primarily due to a higher mix of single retailer redemption products. We continue to attract increasing numbers of customers directly and have improved the product mix. However, the challenges with the legacy agency model in the Christmas savings business persist, which we are taking actions to mitigate. Tim will now look at these results in a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Ian. Okay, on to page 10 and the profit statement. The overall result is impacted by exceptional items, which are detailed on the next page. But let me review the rest of the P&L first. Billings down 1.6% due to the continued reduction in the Christmas Savers order book, particularly the long-term Christmas Savers agents decline, with direct customers slightly ahead. There was corporate growth, although the impact of COVID reduced this by £2 million in March. Revenue is ahead mainly due to an increase in third-party products, which are reported gross in both billings and revenue. In-house products are reported net in revenue. Further increases in product mix towards card and digital and away from paper have caused the gross margin to strengthen. Admin costs have increased largely due to the previously communicated costs of strategy implementation. We've incurred 1.5 million relating to relocation, technology and rebranding. These are non-recurring and lower than our £2 million estimate. Because we expect admin costs to be lower for this year, back to the underlying rate with about 200k of additional costs relating to the refinancing. And finally, finance income has dropped due to lower rates and slightly lower cash balances. On to more detail on exceptional costs on the next page. This page explains the underlying result and details the exceptional charges. The first exceptional charge relates to the Valley Road site at Birkenhead. We impaired the value by 1.2 million last year and have impaired by a further 1.9 million this year, shown on the first two lines, split because we classified the asset as an asset held for sale at half year. We've subsequently sold the site for this value, so there will be no further charge relating to this in the current year. The goodwill impairment relates to two items, FMI, which is our brand engagement agency, which operates in the events market and is heavily impacted by COVID. Also, we have impaired acquired customer lists relating to the hamper customers because of the proposed closure of our hamper operations. Obsolete stock write-downs also relates to our proposed decision to close the hamper operation, and redundancy costs relate to a reorganisation in our marketing department to refocus on digital marketing. This restructure has allowed us to make space in our organisational structure to bring in new digital skills. Adjusting for these items gives us an underlying result which is in line with our expectations provided during the year. Page 12 shows a comparison of billings and revenue which are presented in accordance with IFRS 15. Our in-house product remains the majority of billings at 84%, with some growth in single store due to a different VAT treatment year on year. In revenue, because single store was reported gross, as opposed to multi-retailer, which is reported net, the mix grows at a faster rate. Segmental performance split between corporate and consumer. Consumer billings are down 4% due to the continued decline of the Christmas Savers agency business, offset by more directs. Consumer revenue is higher due to a higher level of single store, as described on the previous page. In corporate, there was growth due to new business and higher levels of repeat business plus a strong online performance. Reduced profitability in both areas due to admin and exceptional costs. Within billings by market, Christmas Savers we've discussed. Other consumer is down 2%, which is disappointing and caused by systems limitations over peak. This area was running at plus 50% at half year, but unfortunately we encountered volume and load issues leading up to the Christmas peak, which meant we had to take actions to reduce volumes, such as introducing a minimum order value of £50, which meant we lost some business at this important time. The systems issues support our technology investment to protect against this occurring again in the future. Customer incentives and staff rewards both benefited from new clients. Employee benefits was also impacted by the system volume issues, plus a credit issue with one client. Intermediaries continue to be managed down as we prefer to go direct to the client. Billings by format shows really good progress with a continuation of the switch in product mix away from paper towards higher margin, more attractive card and digital products. Card and digital billings both grew by over 10%, offset by a planned reduction in paper volumes, which were 15% lower than prior year. This is important as card and digital are higher margin and allows us to reduce the higher operational costs of handling paper products. This, however, does have an impact on cash in the short term due to the requirements of the e-monies trust and why we've signed an RCF. More details shortly on this. On the balance sheet, there are a couple of new items. Firstly, we've adopted IFRS 16 relating to leases, which means we've created a right of use asset, which is predominantly the value of the lease at our new head office in Liverpool, with an equal and opposite lease liability. The asset is then amortised over the lease length. At the balance sheet date, we transferred the old head office to assets held for sale, and post-year end, we have completed the disposal of this asset. Cash flow is again impacted by product mix towards regulated product, with further cash into trust through the increase in the e-monies trust, offset by a reduction in the Christmas Savers trust because of the lower order book. There was an increase in capital expenditure supporting the implementation of the strategy, particularly relating to the fit-outs of the new office and technology investments, including digital developments and a new ERP system. Interest received was marginally ahead, and tax paid was higher due to a change in the payment profile. Slide 18 provides more detail on the breakdown of our monthly cash balances by category. The top left shows the Christmas Savers trust balance, and the green line represents the most recent year, which is slightly reduced on prior year due to the lower order book. The increase in the bottom left chart shows how we're increasing our e-monies trust requirements as the product mix changes. On the top right chart, again focusing on the green line, free cash shows a trough in the summer before the Christmas Savers cash is available. The minimum cash level is reducing over time, with a corresponding increase in the e-monies trust requirement on the bottom left-hand side. Total cash on the bottom right chart is similar year on year. Slide 19 provides further context on our cash position. At our previous results announcements, we've talked about the need to gain financing in order to grow. This plan was in place prior to COVID and hasn't changed for this situation. It is still needed to enable growth in higher margin, more attractive regulated products. The business has historically benefited from the unregulated status of its paper products, as opposed to card and digital, which are regulated through our e-monies license. The easiest way of showing this benefit is to track the paper voucher provision, which is reducing over time as seen on the chart on the left. The chart on the right shows last year's voucher provision against free cash and how the free cash would be lower if paper was regulated. There is no indication that paper will be regulated, but this gives an indication of what the cash profile could look like as we move away from paper. The red line is a theoretical line for last year. Obviously, this switch of product will occur over numerous years, so the borrowing requirement will not be as great as in this example. Therefore, to allow us to continue to drive more higher margin, more attractive regulated products, we've signed a £15 million RCF with Santander to support the switch to digital. This is an unsecured 5-year RCF for £15 million with the option of a £10 million accordion. It's the first time we've had such a facility, and we're delighted to achieve the support from Santander with competitive rates at a margin of 1.65%. In summary, financial year 20 was a resilient performance as we continue to build the growth platform. COVID-19 will have a material impact on financial year 21, but until we go through our peak pre-Christmas season, it is too early to assess the impact. Because of the timing of lockdown in relation to our financial year starting in April, there will be a large deterioration in the first half result. We normally report a seasonal loss in the first half, and this will be significantly increased this year. We expect to see improvement in the second half, particularly with the recent billings trends we have seen, and also because the Christmas Savers order book, which has so far been largely unaffected by COVID, contributes to the second half result. However, the business has positive free cash in all our likely forecast scenarios for this year, and with the support of the RCF, we can continue to grow when the market fully returns. Ian, back over to you for an update on the strategy.
Thank you, Tim. In December 2018, we unveiled our strategy for the business, which is designed to ensure the business is robust and scalable to allow us to drive growth. The business has suffered from historic underinvestment, and significant work has been required to ensure that the business could take advantage of the growth opportunities. The COVID pandemic was not foreseen at that time, and it has impacted the progress. However, the opportunity is still there. Moreover, the investments we have made since 2018 have ensured that the business has been able to survive the pandemic. There's no exaggeration to say that the level of preparedness of the business in 2018 would not have permitted it to cope as well as it has done. So in a very real sense, you are seeing a return on the investment right now. The strategy has been built around improving our productivity, broadening our appeal to target audiences, increasing our clarity and focus, and improving the experience of all the parties who interact with us. Progress has been made on all fronts, and the business is certainly a more robust and scalable business than it has been. I will highlight a few key elements of that: infrastructure investment, workplace transformation, and digital focus. In order to have a robust and scalable platform, you must first ensure that your infrastructure is sound. I mentioned already that the business has been underinvested, and the technology behind the business was a case in point. This year, our CapEx spend on the technology will be approximately £3 million. The spine of the business has been running on very dated technology, which is less and less reliable and more difficult to scale. As a result, we are investing in an ERP solution. This is a multi-year project, but good progress is being made, and we are on track for the implementation in 2021 as planned. Tim already mentioned the impact on the HSV numbers of a systems outage last year. This only serves to reinforce the need for this investment in our core systems. The ERP implementation will improve our effectiveness, our efficiency, and our reliability. We've invested in our resilience and security also. We manage our risks using National Cybersecurity Center principles. This is all about protecting data and protecting us from cyber attack, and ultimately improving business continuity. We are also migrating to cloud-based solutions to save costs and increase reliability. This allows us to remove legacy hardware and vulnerabilities with significant physical footprint reduction. The approach allows us much greater flexibility and resilience, and is faster and more cost efficient. Using cloud technology allows for more flexible, cost-effective, and better data management. In addition to updating our infrastructure, we have been updating our workplace practices. The culture of an organization has a massive impact on its success. Effective delivery, driven by collaborative practices, means greater efficiency. Moving to a new office in Liverpool provided the opportunity to reboot our workplace culture and create a collaborative space and a corresponding culture. The combination of the infrastructure and culture is why we were able to seamlessly move to remote working at lockdown and react as well as we have done to the crisis. In addition to that, the new location and the new culture have made it easier to attract the talent we require to make the business successful. We are finding it easier to attract talent, and the caliber of the talent is higher. The quality of applicants for roles has increased, and the catchment area from which we draw has expanded. We have seen the number of applicants needed to be interviewed to find a suitable candidate, for example, drop by 2/3. All of which means we are better able to acquire the right skills for our business. We said from the outset that we wanted to lead with digital. The recent challenges have helped us accelerate our transition to digital capability, with focus on virtual products and delivery intensifying during lockdown. New e-gift cards and e-codes have been added to highstreetvouchers.com and Love to Shop business. This has included brands which have proved attractive to consumers through lockdown, such as Just Eat, Xbox, and Spotify. We've seen an increase in online redemptions of 169% from the start of the new financial year, as mentioned earlier. We've been improving the process of online onboarding for new corporate clients, reducing the time required from an average of 47 days previously to under 4 days now. This has also helped facilitate the expansion of our product exposure to those clients. The pilots of Select Digital Gift Card and Giftly have provided valuable insight for future propositions. Select Digital Gift Card, which is the contactless enabled gift card that can be loaded into the wallet on a mobile phone, has performed well and has delivered approximately 1 million of billings. The Giftly trial started at a similar time, and it was soon obvious that Select Digital Gift Card was more popular, so we transferred our efforts to this product. And we were able to help an existing redemption partner, Iceland, to allow them to participate in the Department of Education Free School Meals National Voucher Scheme, as mentioned previously. On the digital front, there have been some very positive signs since lockdown. Within the published results, you're going to see multi-redemption card and e-code billings exceeded voucher billings for the first time ever. Our digital redemptions more than doubled to 9.7 million, and we've been more focused on our product offerings. Since the end of the financial year, multi-redemption billings have further increased and represent 91.4% of total billings, an increase of 6.1%. Digital billings have tripled to £18 million, and digital redemptions have increased further, growing by 135%. So as I said, some positive signs. We previously showed a timeline of upcoming milestones. Many of those have been completed and have been mentioned over the course of the presentation. The name change has been completed. The sale of our facility at Valley Road has been completed. The TV ad for Christmas 2020 was completed, broadcast, and has performed well. We launched pilots for Giftly and the contactless enabled digital gift card we call Select Digital Gift Card. As we've discussed, lockdown has impacted on plans. The Select Digital Gift Card outsold Giftly at pilot stage, so we've focused our efforts on it for now. As I've also mentioned, we've secured the revolving credit facility with Santander. We're now proposing to cease production of hampers and merchandise, and lockdown drove an acceleration of digital product sales. On this slide, key work streams that have been completed are depicted with a black dashed outline. And as you can see, we have delivered many key elements to our plan. In summary, we are creating a robust and scalable business that is poised to drive increased growth. We've made significant progress in implementing our strategy to adapt our business for the future. Our focus on digital products and delivery has intensified, and we've accelerated our development of smarter, more efficient ways of working. This will position us well for doing business after COVID-19. Our continued investment in transformation, with changes to logistics and operations already completed, is already showing significant benefit. Whilst our performance has been interrupted by the lockdown, we have seen trading start to recover and expect the resumption of growth founded on the more robust and scalable business. We are confident that delivery of the strategic plan will be the bedrock of strong and sustained future growth. We'll have the opportunity to update you on further progress at the time of our AGM on the 29th of September and at our half-year results announcement, which will be the 24th of November. Thanks very much, and thank you for taking the time to listen.